Yesterday, the new face-to-face with the developers came out, and it really does show that Lilith is taking these steps in the correct direction to make armaments and formations much more free-to-play friendly, and even just much more player-friendly instead of being a complete pay-to-win chance fest. Like I complained about in the other video, I did mention that Lilith said they were going to add some type of a transmutation system where you could re-roll your armaments, and they have confirmed it in this face-to-face with the developers. Today, I'll be telling you everything you need to know about the system, which armaments you must save, which ones you can still recycle, and whether or not I think this is actually going to be a good system. If you want to make sure that you get the most value for your armaments that you possibly can, you should definitely check out today's video. So we'll start off with the first question they asked, and that is, what are the main functions of the transmutation system? And Lilith basically said it allows you to randomize your existing armament attributes. Alone, this means that you could just grab an armament, whichever one you wanted, and just basically re-randomize them. So let's say this Fleur de Lis tome, I butchered that, I'm sorry. You can re-randomize that and change the stats on it. Maybe it will go like Cav defense at the top stat, infantry health for the second stat, and then like barbarian damage on the third stat. That's the very basic premises of this, but Lilith said they're going to go way deeper than that, and I think it's smart what they did. They really made this a lot less randomized. They changed it so this works differently. Instead of the re-randomization either applying to a single attribute or all the attributes, Lilith allows you to choose to lock one or two attributes, but not lock all of them, obviously, because there's no point. Locked attributes will not be re-randomized, so that means anything you lock won't be re-randomized. And after you randomize something, you may choose to keep the old attribute or apply the new attribute. That is amazing, okay? I'm giving hats off to Lilith here, okay? Before, what would happen is, if you got an armament, you got whatever stat you were given, it's either going to be good or it's going to be trash. You and your luck sucks to be you. That was before this update's going to come out. Now, let's say you have an armament like this. I've got a double inscribed armament. It's very good inscriptions right here. But I've got one cav stat here, which I would love to be like all damage or archer stats. What I can do is I can lock the two archer stats, and I can re-roll the cav stats to be something I want. That is so good on the Lilith's path. You know, this makes the game way better. Now, what would also happen is if you have any double inscribed armaments, so for example, you may have a double inscribed legendary armament that has all trash stats, what you can do is lock nothing and just keep re-randomizing it until you get some stats that you like, and then randomize it again to like start to nail down on what you really want for the armament. This is really smart. Before, it would have just been you can randomize the armament again. Maybe you can randomize the troop type that you get instead of randomizing whatever the actual armament is. But now, instead of that, Lilith has made it so you can lock the armament. So if I wanted to, I could lock these two archer stats and randomize the cav health. Now also, if you have a double inscribed armament, you also have the option to re-roll the lower stat that you have in hopes of getting a higher stat. Now that is really micro-optimizing, but it does say in the patch notes that you can choose to keep the old attribute or apply the new one. So you're not forced to actually pick the new attribute, which I think is really smart. You have the option of either keeping your old one. So let's say maybe you have 1% archer attack and you really want to get like 3% archer attack instead or something like that. You can keep randomizing your armament until you get a higher stat, but whenever you get something you don't like, you can just choose to not take it. So that means there's no real gambling with the randomization, especially for people who have a very good armament, but they want to get the armament to be a little bit stronger. You are guaranteed to basically still be at least in the spot that you started off with when you randomize, which is good. I don't really like the risk of, let's say if I had this armament here that's double inscribed and I want to randomize it, I either mix all the stats up and I don't know what they were going to be, or I mix up two of the stats or even just one of the stats and I don't know what that stat's going to be and I can't choose to keep the old one. I don't like that. But Lilith changed it so that you will be able to keep the old stat, which I think is really good, and that definitely helps lower spenders, free-to-players, who maybe have a very good double inscribed armament and they want to keep the stats on that armament, but they want to improve some of the stats. They can lock the stat, re-roll it, and then choose if the new stat is better or not, and choose that stat or keep the old one, which is really good. The next question, does this system only change armament attributes? Can it change the inscription of the armament? The system will only randomize the armament attributes being the stats, so whatever stats you have, and everything else will remain unchanged. Therefore, we recommend that you hold on to armaments with good inscriptions but poor attributes, so you can re-randomize the attributes when the system goes live. Now, I will say I have definitely scrapped a lot more legendaries with inscriptions than I would have wanted. I'm very upset about that. But from now on, whenever you get a good inscribed armament, so if you get a double inscribed armament and you like it, keep it, because you're going to need that thing, because you'll be able to re-randomize the armament that you get, which is really good. If you get a double inscribed armament or even just a single inscribed armament that's really nice right now, save it and just wait. Wait for this new system to come out, and then you can re-randomize that armament, make it stronger, make it better. And also, for people who already have inscribed armaments, the inscriptions won't change. Whether that be a good thing or a bad thing, I think it's more of a good thing. Inscription randomization, if you had a way to re-randomize it, would kind of remove the purpose of armaments at that point then, because now the main purpose is just to get a good inscribed armament instead of getting a good inscribed armament with good stats, with the right number of stats, because you can re-randomize that now, which is really good. I don't think it's not too big of a bummer that you can't redo the inscriptions, especially since you can also access inscriptions, for example, inside of this shop here. You can also access them inside of the KVK shop. So you have a bunch of ways to change inscriptions already, and I don't think we needed another way to change them. So I'm not too fast that we can't change the inscriptions with the re-randomization. I think that's perfectly fine because there's a ton of ways to change inscriptions if you already want it. The next question was, does changing armament attributes require items? Lilith basically said, changing armament attributes require specific items. So there will be an item to this, you can't just do it for free. I guess that's understandable, they are still business. And then the locking of attributes will affect the number of items required, alright? This item can be obtained through the armament shop and events. So my hope, and this is my hope, I doubt this is going to be the case, is that if I just go into my armament shop, I can either spend my gold coins or I can spend my silver coins to get this re-randomization item. That's my hope. I don't think Lilith is going to do that. I have a very big doubt. They may entirely add a whole entire new currency. I also doubt that. I feel like that would be too many currencies at that point. But it's certainly possible that they do something like that. Also, it being available in events is actually kind of good because currently the best armament event is in Search of Wonders, and even then that event kind of sucks. So being able to get at least some more items which are going to allow you to randomize your armaments and make them stronger is definitely going to be very good. Now the issue arises where if you can only access like one of these per week, and you need like 3 to re-roll the inscription, it's not going to be very free-to-play friendly, because then possibly there'll be a more pay-to-win way, such as through the actual shop, where they can purchase these items and re-randomize their armaments at an easier rate to get the stronger armaments that they want, which definitely would give a little bit of a hindrance to free-to-play low spenders, but even then it's still going to be fairly good that you could access the item for free through the armament shop, and it's not just a gem event or not just a high-demand item to unlock. The thing about it costing more items per locked stat does sound a little bit annoying. Maybe it makes it very difficult to actually lock down 2 stats to change up one of them. It may actually not be worth it at that point if you have an armament that's got 3 good stats and you're just trying to make one better. You may as well just use the items on other armaments. That's the vibe I'm getting here. But it depends how easy these are to access. If you can access these very easily and they're in abundance, then certainly I think that this will be good. You could just access them and reroll as many times as you want. But I don't know how easily accessible these items will be. I don't know what events they're going to be in. And I don't know how much of any amount of currency they will cost. So we'll have to see when that releases. The next question, does this feature work for all armaments? This feature is only available for inscribed legendary armaments, like I said before. And each armament can only be transmuted up to 10 times. Okay. So I guess that's where the limit comes in, like for how much you can use the armament. So let's say I got a double inscribed legendary armament and I got really unlucky and none of the stats really rolled how I wanted them. Does that mean if I don't get it within the next, like the 10 transmutations, it kind of gets wasted? That's what that sounds like to me, which is unfortunate. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they imposed that cap. I don't think it's needed. But I understand, I guess maybe they want to have some type of a limit where it's still slightly RNG based, which is unfortunate. I was really hoping this was definitely not RNG based at all. But clearly it's still going to have some RNG. So if you don't get it within 10 tries, then you can expect that whichever legendary armament you're trying to reroll is basically going to become useless and it's just going to become something that you end up scrapping. That is unfortunate. Hopefully these items are easier to access so it's not completely wasted. But for the most part, I feel like you will get some type of a stat that you want within 10 attempts, at least like an attack stat for whichever troop you're trying to use it on. I don't think you can be too demanding with armaments. You can't say, I want to get all damage, health, and defense, or all damage, march speed, and defense, or health. I think it's really just take what you can get and then kind of either use the items on other armaments or just save them. I think that's your best bet. I wouldn't really be going hunting for the best armaments that you possibly can. It may be not worth your time, and especially if you use all 10 transmutations and you get nothing because you're being a little bit greedy, that's definitely not very good. Now, when will the system go live? The system is currently under optimization and is expected to be available in July. So that means around a month from now. Usually that's when they'll do the next patch. Maybe the 12th, 13th of July is when I would expect the patch to come in. Sometime around then. I think the last patch was around the beginning of June or midway through June. So it won't be too long till this system comes out. Now, how do you prepare for what's coming in this update? Well, first of all, I would say for now, actually just stash all your currencies. I wouldn't spend any gold coins. I wouldn't spend much silver coins. Like, you can buy the weekly stuff, but don't spend too much outside of that. I mean, you could really only buy all this. It's not too much. and especially your gold coins, I'd be saving them. I have a feeling that whatever they're going to be adding is going to be in the gold coin section. I doubt they're going to give it away for the really easy to access silver coins, unless it's like 1,000 silver coins a week. That could be possible, but still then, that's extremely expensive, and you definitely should start saving your coins. Also, regardless of what you were doing before, I would start doing all dispatches. I'd start doing all travels every single day, because that's definitely going to help you get a little bit closer to having the best armaments that you can for when the new system drops. Also, if any armament events come around to your kingdom, it actually may be worth it. And at the moment, I think that this change is definitely going to make this super value bundles for armaments way more valuable, because you can actually switch up the stats on your inscribed armaments, and getting inscribed armaments is way easier when you have 50 legendary formation choice chests. So buying these bundles may also now be much more valuable for most players. If you have any legendary inscribed armaments, you should be keeping them. But if you have anything uninscribed and you know you're not going to be able to use it because of the troop type, for example, this war drums here, I'm never ever going to use because I don't use infantry, and infantry don't have any ranged attack. So make sure you are scrapping the legendaries that you don't need. I'd just say at this point, go through your armaments, see what you can possibly reroll that you want to keep, and then look at what you can't reroll, and then just start scrapping that, because once it's not useful, it's never ever going to be useful again with armaments, so it's just worth it in the coins that it's going to give you instead. Now, the same thing goes for epics. I held on to a few inscribed epics in the hope of possibly re-rolling them, but as you can see, that's definitely not the case now, so I can just unlock all the epics I didn't need, and I can scrap them to give even more of the currency, which I'm probably going to start saving up. My overall opinion on this system, I think it's a great step in a very good direction. Less than 5 days ago, I was basically swearing my head off about how much I hated armaments, but now Lilith has been listening to what players are saying when they say, armaments have too much RNG, you're basically getting screwed if you buy bundles, if you're doing your daily travel, if you're doing your dispatches, if you're doing all the events, you're basically getting screwed over. But Lilith has heard that, and they've made it so you can lock stats, you can switch up whichever stats you get. It's amazing, and I think it was actually extremely smart of Lilith to do this, because it makes players enjoy the game a lot more, and makes armaments way less RNG. Now, this system does also depend on how much we can access the items, so if we can't access it very much, I will be quite upset, but hopefully we can access whatever items we need to transmutate these armaments within a fair manner. So like if we can access at least maybe 2 of them a week, something like that, I think would be fair. I don't want to be able to like spend 10,000 gems to get one of these items. I'd rather have it as a very accessible thing for most players. I think that the RNG of getting inscriptions at a good level is certainly more than enough. So allowing players to reroll their armaments at least to 10 times is definitely smart, and giving them access to do that fairly common will definitely make a lot more players a lot happier. Now, if you want to voice your opinions like I did today, or you just need advice on anything Rise of Kingdoms related, join the Archer Syndicate Discord linked in the description. There you will get updated on whenever I release a new video, but also you can ask any questions you want and I will answer them, or if I don't answer them or I miss your question, then I'm sure someone from the channel will be happy enough to answer, because we always have people active and chatting in that Discord. It's a very fun place, and I highly recommend joining. The link will be in the description and in the pinned comment. Now, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.